So, 2 years ago, what was intended to actually be my very first video was a ranking of all the original Pixar shorts, and I stopped writing it halfway through because I just got tired of writing it. Not to mention, I didn't actually like my script looking back and how artificial it sounded. But now I feel like, now that I've gotten more experience with this video making stuff, that I could, do it again, but properly this time. And another thing is, I'm also gonna try to go unscripted with this video this time, so I could be more genuine with how I'm talking about the shorts. I'm gonna try my best with going with this unscripted style, and maybe I'll do it more often, if I actually like it looking back. This was a video that I just really wanted to do simply because I just wanted to make a video focused on the Pixar shorts, because you don't really see a lot of people talking about them, do you? Or rank them, so I just really wanted to make a video where I put a spotlight on all the original Pixar shorts and talk about why they're all so good. And why so many of them are so iconic for their unique animation styles and how all of them are unique from the next, and how so many of them use the silent storytelling method to tell their stories. So I am really gonna try my best with going in an unscripted method to see how well it does, and really just to do a proper ranking video on these shorts this time. So, here goes. I wanted to love Float. I really did. It sounds like the kind of short I'd love. It's a metaphor for autism. I just couldn't really get into it. I just think the problem really is I just don't think the metaphor is that strong. I mean, it's just a boy floating, and that's it. It doesn't really help that a few months afterwards Pixar put out a short that's actually about autism, and they actually go about the message a lot better. I'm sorry, I really want to like this short a lot. I just can't. It's good as is. I just kind of wish it was a little better, you know? So Tin Toy was originally going to be the short that was going to take last place in this list, just because I found it to be too simple. But I really shouldn't hold that against them. This is still Pixar in their earlier days still doing the short films, so obviously they're gonna be doing simple stories. At the end of the day, it's still Tin Toy. His cameo in Toy Story 4 wouldn't be so cool if it was anybody else. It's really just a matter of all the shorts that are higher than this are just the ones that I like more. I really do think this is still a cute short. And that's also kinda how I feel about Partly Cloudy. It's good, it's cute, it's a simple story, and that's kind of all I have to say about it. I think the animation is pretty creative, it's a creative concept, and I also remember saying in my original script that I found Storks to be the better piece of animation that has the concept of creating babies and delivering them, and yeah, I still kinda think so. I didn't actually like Wind all that much when I first watched it, but over time it has warmed up to me. And the whole premise of this boy and his grandmother escaping from a sinkhole actually does work as a nice allegory for immigration. And that actually was the intention of the director of the short, where during the Korean War his grandmother sent him and his family off to the USA to live a better life. It is always nice to see the people at Pixar make stories like this, where they can just tell these personal stories. You can't not like The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. It's a very simple story, but that's just what I like about it. It had to have been so groundbreaking to see a CGI animated cartoon all the way back in 1984. And the CGI does hold up unbelievably well. The colors and the lighting and the shadows are just really impressive that they still hold up today. And you can say that it's even more impressive that this was only just the beginning. Loop was what I was talking about earlier about how there's a Pixar short that goes about the autism message better. Pixar actually got consultants from the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network and even have an autistic girl play Renee. It was really interesting to see something represent the non-verbal autistic side of the spectrum. And I even like how they portray Marcus and his bond with Renee. I can relate being awkward and hesitant to interact with other people in the spectrum. But that's just what makes it so nice that there are people that will be able to make bonds with autistic people. That's exactly what I want. One-man bands is fun. It's funny, the way they go about the one-man band stuff is pretty funny. It's creative, and I don't actually have that much else to say about it. I didn't even actually write anything about it in my original script those few years ago. I just think it's fun and inventive. Nothing else, really. Lifted, I do think, is funnier, with how it's basically a driver's ed course, except it's an alien trying to abduct a human. And this was even inspired by the director's own experiences working on a sound mixer and how intimidating it was to work on it and having a bunch of people watching him. And they make so much good Looney Tunes-esque comedy out of it. Not to mention how good the character animation is, of which they use this software appropriately called Jiggle to animate them. And of course the ending is amazing. I remember writing in my original script that Red's Dream is basically Pixar's saddest short. Like, it's this unicycle that dreams about wanting to be in a circus, but then he wakes up and is all sad that he's not in a circus, and it just ends there. There's no happy ending. And when you really think about it, this is Pixar's first ever project to have an emotional core. And I can't honestly imagine how admirable that must have been for Pixar back then. Not to mention the especially impressive for the time rainy night setting and the iconic saxophone music playing to really help set the mood. Nona was one of the 2 shorts that came out after I was doing my original script. And I thought that would give me some more time to think of more stuff for my script, but then I just abandoned the script, and I didn't write anything for this short. But now that I'm doing this video, I guess I should finally say my thoughts on it. And I think it's cute, sweet, and touching. And I'm pretty sure this was set on the now sadly removed documentary A Spark Story, where they realized later on that they should show at the beginning the grandma's motivations for wanting to watch the wrestling game and why it's so special to her. Much like what they did with Finding Nemo with how they retold the narrative. There hasn't been an original short since this one came out, and they could not come back soon enough. Pearl, the very first of the Spark Shorts program, was inspired by director Kristen Lester's experiences working in animation, where she was the lone female in the team, and would try fitting in by being one of the guys. And projecting those themes with a ball of yarn working in an office is amazing. And it's even got some pretty shocking adult elements, like a few swearing and stuff. Like, it was really bizarre to see in a Pixar short. Very cute and funny, a good start to the Spark Shorts program. Lava is another one of those particularly personal shorts, as its director, James Ford Murphy, was inspired by his honeymoon in Hawaii, and he even went back to, quote, reconnect emotionally. Another inspiration of his being this ukulele rendition of What a Wonderful World and Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And his inspirations really came through in this one. And I've been thinking back to when I did my original script and I called the ending corny and out of nowhere, and that really wasn't right for me to say. They're sentient volcanoes, why should I suspend my disbelief? Knick Knack is a great example of a lot of the earlier Pixar shorts having a lot of that reminiscence of old Looney Tunes cartoons. What with this being about a snowman's trying to escape from a snow globe and using a bunch of objects to try to escape. And Bobby McFerrin's iconic a cappella going along with it especially makes it work. It's always a joy to return to this one. Smash and Grab is really underrated. Like, the music is really cool and unique, I like seeing Pixar animating robots again. In fact, it actually kinda continues Wally's themes of wanting a change in routines. And I only found out now that they used motion capture to animate the robots, which was really impressive, like I really didn't notice that. It's just really cool and fun, and I'd love to see people bring it up more often. Sanjay's Super Team basically isn't just about any Sanjay, but its director, Sanjay Patel, where he projected into this short his own conflicts in his childhood between doing Hindu rituals with his father and watching cartoons and reading comics. And they use this conflict by portraying Hindu gods as superheroes. And the animation and style here is amazing! Boundin' is another one in particular that I find to be really underrated. This is Pixar's first ever short film with dialogue, and they tell it like a folktale. And the late Bud Lucky narrating it absolutely makes it. Like, it is absolutely lovely. The animation is fun, the message is great, it's just a really good time. It just has that classic Disney feel, and I would have loved to see Pixar do more of those kinds. Jerry's Game really made a lot out of just this premise of an old man playing chess with himself. Like, the editing really makes you believe that it's 2 people playing chess. And of course I said in my original script how the Pixar Character Encyclopedia basically confirms that the old guy in this short is also the same old guy in Toy Story 2 cleaning Woody. It's amazing how Pixar just decided to go ahead and just confirm that. I don't know what else to say, it's just a really funny short. Luxo Jr. is just iconic. This was the one that made industry realize animation can be more than just 2D. And the animation holds up really well, you really feel like these lamps are alive even though they don't have faces. The jazz music is a great vibe, the sound effects are iconic, it's just It's just iconic, man. For the Birds is another case of these early Pixar shorts feeling a lot more like Looney Tunes shorts. Just with a lot of the comedy being focused on the animation and the expressions, complete with a hilarious punchline, even complete with another iconic soundtrack. God rest your soul, Ralph Eggleston. Luca was Enrico Casarosa's project at Pixar before Luca, and you can definitely tell the charm here rubbed off on that movie. What with its cool looking charm and unique designs. Plus I also just like the dad and the grandpa talking like Shaun the Sheep humans. I just think it's funny. And it's with that simplistic charm that makes for some beautiful atmosphere. Like, these are some brilliant visuals. Presto is one that especially stands out thanks to the animation. Like, it's just so fun and expressive, and the portals for the magic hats are used for their fullest advantage and really help the comedy a long way. Really feels like a throwback to the old Disney shorts, and even the opening titles do that. I would absolutely love to see Disney and Pixar do more shorts like it. I honestly couldn't think of too much to say about Lou. I just think I had it so high just because of how sweet I thought it was. Like, it really just had that really emotional, touching ending. And of course the carrots are made up of a bunch of lost and found items is amazing. Love the animation on it. 20-something is the other short that came out after my attempt on the first version of this video. I was honestly shaky when watching it the first time, just really? We're just doing 3 girls in a trench coat pretending to be an adult? Like, really? This is what we're doing? And then the ending came around and then it started to all make sense. How it was all just a metaphor for our adulthood, and how adults feel like 3 kids in a trench coat. And how they feel like they're expected to do everything right once they hit that adult age. Just a message for people coming into adulthood about how they don't have to be perfect and they can let their inner child be part of them is really it's just really special. I'm going to be turning 20 this year, so I mean it when I say it. Out was actually higher at first, like it was in the top 5. But it just took another viewing for this video to make me realize, you know, there's still a few shorts that I like better. But that said, this short is still brilliant. It's so awe-inspiring to see Pixar make a project where the LGBTQ representation is the main focus. And it totally led for some really unexpected moments, like that calendar scene, man, like, wow. And they just go about the themes in an emotionally honest way, with Greg being worried that his parents might not accept him being gay, and how he finds out his mom knows that and accepts that is what prompts him to come out, and to think all that took was just for his body to be switched with a dog. Speaking of which, you can absolutely tell that their bodies are switched with how they're animated. And I love the animation here. It's got that paint style to it, and it really makes it stand out. Yep, it's great alright. A real miracle that we got something like this from Pixar. There's a lot about Bao to be particularly impressed by. Like, this is the very first Pixar short to have a female director behind it, by the name of Domi Shi, who would also then be the director for Turning Red. And the basic driving motivation, just being growing up Asian with the lack of Asian American media, and what exactly her experiences were that she conveyed into this short, where she projects herself into the metaphor of the overprotected little steam bun, as Domi Shi herself had frustrations of being coddled by her mom. Oh yeah, and the scene of the mom eating that little thing, that was inspired by what Domi Shi's mom would say, where she wishes she could put her back into her stomach so she knew where she were at all times. And believe it or not, Domi Shi actually contemplated on rewriting that scene because she was actually worried that it was a little too dark. And it was current CCO Pete Docter that convinced her to keep it in. This short was just so wild and heartbreaking at the same time, and I am so glad that Domi Shi decided to present that. The Blue Umbrella, I think, is one that in particular stands out because of its photorealism. Pixar is already pretty well known for their photorealistic visuals, and it's just inspiring to see that be front and center in a short film. In fact, for this short, Pixar even updated their rendering system so they could render new types of lighting and reflections, a technique known as global illumination. And it's genius the way they gave faces to a bunch of inanimate objects, where it's basically conveyed through this tendency for perception called artificial pareidolia. All this accompanied by a beautiful score and vocals. I just really couldn't help but see this as one of the best. Burrow feels a lot like something I would have adored as a kid. A huge factor, I think, being the hand-drawn animation. Like, it's just so cute and fun, and I love how it's in the style of a children's book. Which makes sense once you realize the short's director, Madeline Sharafian, was previously a storyboard artist for We Bare Bears. And seeing all these animals having their own rooms and settings just made out of those little burrows, it just feels so lived in. And you know, all the charm from this short really makes it feel like it was done by this independent animated film director Benjamin Renner, whose films have all the good qualities Burrow has. I really do think of all the Pixar shorts, this one really feels like the most timeless. Day and Night is Pixar's very first original short film to use hand-drawn animation. And what they do here is they use a masking technique to make the outlines for the hand-drawn characters windows for the CGI worlds inside them. I honestly can't imagine how revolutionary that must have been back in 2010. Another really particularly impressive thing they do here is with the sound effects. With how it's the stuff that happens in Day and Night that are the sounds for the actions of the characters. And I seriously couldn't think of a better way to cap off the short that illustrates what it's about than Dr. Wayne Dyer's lecture. Like, honestly, that was brilliant. One time during the thought process of this list, I almost put Kit Bull at number 1. There was just such this quiet intimacy of it that I just really appreciated. And I love the animation and style here, like this is Pixar's very second hand-drawn film. And the short's director even said that hand-drawn animation was the best way to capture the animation on the kitten, with its frenetic energy and everything. And the drama here feels so real. Like, it just really has you sympathize with this little kitten and this big pit bull and want to see them together. It's just an amazingly sweet short, and it should still feel really good about making second place. I always knew Piper in My Heart would be number 1. It just does absolutely everything a Pixar short sets out to do. Breathtaking photorealistic animation, a pleasant tone, and a good story that's easy to get across. Like, seriously, that animation is so good, and the sandpipers are just so cute! Like, I've just never seen a seaside animated so beautifully before. There's a whole video essay from Karsten Runquist on why he also thinks this is the best Pixar short, and I really tried thinking of a way to talk about it without repeating him, so I'd recommend watching his video. It just really goes to show just how special Piper is. Piper just is the prime example of just what makes Pixar short films so underappreciated. And I highly anticipate what lies ahead for the next one.